Good day, everyone. I'm Maylin Malate. My topic for today is all about early childhood assessment and play assessment. So, what is early childhood assessment? Assessment is a systematic process used to understand a child's developmental progress. It plays a crucial role in informing instruction by providing insights into each child's strengths and areas for growth. Through assessment, educators can identify individual needs and tailor their teaching strategies accordingly. Additionally, it helps monitor ongoing progress, ensuring that children receive the support they need to thrive. Early childhood assessment is a systematic process used to understand a child's developmental progress across different domains, including cognitive, social, emotional, and physical growth. As Overton describes, assessment in early childhood rely on both formal and informal methods to gather comprehensive information about children. This data helps educator make informed decisions about how best to support each child's unique learning journey. A simple example would be observing a child's interaction with toys to assess the fine motor skills or problem solving ability. Next, let's talk about the legal and ethical foundations. So the legal and ethical foundations that guide early childhood education, so these principles ensures that young learners, including those with disabilities, receive the best possible support in a safe and inclusive environment. We'll focus on three areas: the idea, the NAEYC guidelines, and confidentiality with cultural sensitivity. So let's begin. So, the idea or the individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So, about the idea, this is a federal law that ensures children with disabilities have access to free and appropriate public educations. So, it mandates early identification, individualized education plans or IEPs, and services that support the unique needs of each child. IDEA promotes inclusion, equal opportunities, and safeguards the rights of children with disabilities and their families. So second is the NAEYC guidelines. So this provides a framework for high quality early childhood education practices that are developmentally appropriate and ethically sound. These guidelines emphasize the importance of creating safe, respectful, and inclusive learning environments for young children. They also guide educators in making informed decisions that support the well-being and development of every child. For instance, when setting up a classroom, NAEYC guidelines encourage us to create spaces where all children feel valued and supported, regardless of their learning style or background. Finally, let's talk about the confidentiality and cultural sensitivity. So, as educators, we handle sensitive information about children and their families. Maintaining confidentiality protects their privacy and dignity, helping to build trust with parents. Additionally, cultural sensitivity ensures that diverse backgrounds, values, and traditions are respected in the learning environment. For example, recognizing different cultural celebrations in the classrooms or being mindful of dietary restrictions shows respect for diversity. In summary, IDEA ensures equal educational access for children with disabilities. NAEYC guidelines shape best practices in early childhood education, and confidentiality with cultural sensitivity fosters a respectful learning environment. By understanding and applying these principles, we create a supportive space for all children to grow and thrive. Why assess in early childhood? Assessment is a systematic process used to understand a child's developmental progress. It plays a crucial role in informing instruction by providing insights into each child's strengths and areas for growth. Through assessment, educators can identify individual needs and tailor their teaching strategies accordingly. Additionally, it helps monitor ongoing progress, ensuring that children receive the support they need to thrive. So early childhood assessment helps track a child's development, identify the strengths and areas for improvement, to guide and personalize teaching strategies and ensure they receive the support needed to thrive. Next is the types of early childhood assessment. Norm reference assessments. Norm reference assessments compare a child's performance to a normative sample, usually of children the same age. Overton in 2014 notes that these tests are standardized and useful in determining eligibility for special education services. Common examples include the Bailey scales of infant and toddler development. Norm reference assessments measures a child's abilities by comparing their performance to a standardized sample of children the same age. These assessments are useful in identifying developmental progress and determining eligibility for special education services. Since they are standardized, they provide a consistent way to evaluate skills. An example is the Bailey's scales of infant and toddler development, which assesses cognitive, motor, and language abilities in the young children. Next is the Criterion Reference Assessment. Criterion reference assessments measures a child's performance against a predetermined standard or set of criteria. Pierangelo and Giuliani in 2007 explained that these assessments identify specific skills a child has mastered. Independent of how others perform, they are commonly used in curriculum-based assessment and for instructional planning. Next is the curriculum-based assessment. So curriculum-based assessment use the actual curriculum to measure student progress and learning outcomes. Overton in 2014 emphasizes that CBAs are direct and practical for evaluating how well a child is learning classroom material. They are often teacher created and can be adapted for individual learning needs. Next is the informal assessment. Informal assessment includes methods such as observations, checklists, and anecdotal records that are not standardized. According to Overton in 2014, these tools are valuable for capturing a child's natural behaviors in familiar settings. They provide qualitative data that can inform individualized instruction and intervention. Special considerations in early childhood assessment. So first is the unique characteristics of early childhood assessment. Early childhood assessment often rely on observation and play-based methods to gather information. Overton in 2014 suggests that young children may not perform reliably on formal tests due to their developmental stage. Informal assessment and naturalistic observations are more accurate for this age group. Next is the environmental and ecological assessments. Ecological assessments examine how different environments impact a child's learning and development. Priangelo and Giuliani in 2007 argue that assessing a child's interactions within their home, school, and community context provides a comprehensive understanding of their needs. It also identifies environmental factors that support or hinder the development. Next is early intervention services. Early intervention services aim to address developmental delays in children before they enter formal schooling. Overton in 2014 describes these services as crucial for minimizing the impact of disabilities on learning development. Assessment data inform the design and delivery of early interventions program. The introduction to play assessment. So let's play the video first.
When a district is about to test a child, a preschooler, for special ed programs, they might use multiple different types of assessment. One of them might be a transdisciplinary play-based assessment in which the child actually gets to play, and sometimes they'll be playing with a play facilitator, someone on the floor playing with them, and part of the time they will involve the parent and play with the parent on the floor as well. During this assessment, the parent is typically involved through playing with the child and also answering questions and being allowed to ask as many questions as they want about the play that's going on and what kind of information they are gathering from the child. So I encourage parents to definitely ask if they're not being told what is happening with the child. If they have any questions, this is a good time to ask about what kinds of information they're gathering from the child, why they're doing what they're doing during the play session, etc. And then the other type of assessment that they might use, or they might use a combination of them, is they would probably do a traditional standardized assessment as well. And that would look like a child sitting at a table one-on-one with an assessment person. All right, look. This is a P. Can you show me a P? There's a P. Where's the other P? Let's turn the page. So that's just a one-on-one testing and with a preschooler and a book, and asked to point to or name lots of things in a book and assessing their cognitive abilities usually, but other abilities as well. Now point to the thing that I say. Point to the tiger. Very good. During a play-based assessment session, there will be lots of people in the room. The parent, of course, somebody playing with the child, the play facilitator, and then there will be multiple other assessment staff sitting around, either around the room or around a table, jotting down information that they are gathering from the child. Sometimes they'll have a protocol on which they will put the information and checking off things that the child can do, writing notes about what the child can do. Sometimes they will just write down the information and then later compare it to a developmental sequence to see where the child is functioning in multiple areas. So this group usually includes a speech therapist, might also include an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, sometimes a nurse, and some other assessment personnel, whatever is needed for that child. If a child has an auditory impairment or a visual impairment, a teacher for the children with auditory impairments or visual impairments would also be included in that team. The best way to prepare your child for an assessment is to get him familiar with multiple people. Have a protocol on which included in that team. The best way to prepare your child for an assessment is to get him familiar with multiple people. Do your best to get him comfortable with meeting new people and still being able to show his best work with a new person. That's usually the hardest thing to get past, and is to build rapport with a kid quickly and then immediately get him to show you what he can do. Also, just gathering all of the information that you have on your child and bringing that with you, whether that be medical information or previous assessment data. All of that needs to be presented to the assessment team as early as possible during the assessment so that they have a better information about your child during assessment. Something else that parents can do to prepare their kids or prepare for an assessment is to make sure that they have recent vision and hearing screening. that will be asked for at the assessment. And if the assessment team doesn't do that on your child, it would be great for you to come with it to the screening or to the testing, because that's something that has to be looked at for every child, is vision and hearing. So the toys that we use during play-based assessments include fine motor activities, and such as writing and drawing, and blocks for stacking, etc. And we look at that to really see what fine motor skills they have. Can they manipulate the blocks? Can they motor plan well enough to get the blocks to stack without falling over? And we also look at gross motor toys, such as playing with balls. And we look at the bubbles. We do the bubbles for sensory activities, and we also do bubbles to see how they react to sensory input, and also to get them to request more, get them to request help if we can't get the bubbles open, etc. So we use the bubbles for multiple things. We look at lots of things with each one of the toys that we use. We also give a lot of wait time, if possible, in between activities, to give the child a chance to show how he or she transitions naturally, and also to give the child a chance to verbalize a little bit more on their own if they do, or vocalize on their own. Videos of what your child can do at home are wonderful, especially if you suspect that when the child is with with people that they don't know, they may not perform as well as you expect them to. So this is a good way to show them what the child can do, and they can actually use that as part of the assessment as well, especially for language evaluations.
So that video is an example of play assessment. So what is a play assessment? It involves observing and analyzing children's play behaviors to evaluate their developmental skills. Overton in 2014 states that play is a natural context for children to demonstrate their abilities across multiple domains. This type of assessment captures spontaneous behaviors that may not be evident in structured settings. So let us discuss the play-based assessment approaches. So here are the play-based assessment approaches. First is the transdisciplinary play-based assessments. So a team of professionals observes a child in play situations to assess different developmental areas. It focuses on assessment, intervention, and family involvement in a holistic approach. It also encourages collaboration between professionals and families to make informed decisions. Second is the play observation scales, or the PAWS. So a structured tool for analyzing children's social and cognitive play behaviors is the PAWS. It measures how children interact with peers and the complexity of their play. It is also useful for identifying social skills and relationship. Next is the Knox Preschool Play Scale, or the KPPS. KPPS is a criterion reference tool that assesses play development from birth to 6 years. It evaluates the four key areas. First, the space management, or how children use physical space. Second is the material management, or how they interact with objects. Third is the pretense or symbolic play, or imagination and pretend play. And last is the participation, which engagement with peers and activities. It provides a comprehensive picture of a child's play and developmental progress. So each of these tools helps professionals understand a child's skills, strength, and areas for support in a natural play environment. Next are the domains assessed through play. First is the cognitive development. Cognitive development is often assessed through observation of how children engage in problem solving, symbolic play, and memory tasks during play activities. Overton suggests watching how a child plans and sequences events in pretend play, such as playing house, to assess cognitive skills. For example, a child who assigns roles, organizes a sequence of actions, and adjusts plans and demonstrates higher order thinking skills. Play assessments offer rich insights into a child's cognitive abilities without the constraint of formal testing. Second is the language development. Language development can be observed through children's communication during play, such as giving directions, telling stories, or negotiating with peers. Priangelo and Giuliani point out that play provides opportunities to evaluate expressive and receptive language, as well as social communication skills like turn taking. For instance, listening to children narrate their pretend play can reveal vocabulary development and sentence structure. Play-based assessments give a clearer picture of language used in natural context. Next is the social and emotional development. So, social and emotional development is assessed by observing how children interact with peers, express emotions, and handle conflict during play. Overton emphasizes watching for behaviors like sharing, empathy, and negotiation, which indicate social competence and emotion regulation. For example, a child who comforts a peer during play demonstrates empathy, while one who waits for a turn shows self-control. Observing these behaviors in play helps educators identify areas for social emotional learning support. So, in conclusion, early childhood assessment plays an important role in understanding and supporting the developmental needs of young learners. By integrating play based assessment and developmentally appropriate practices, educators can gather meaningful insights that inform instructional strategies and interventions. Grounded in ethical and legal frameworks, this assessment promote inclusive, equitable, and individualized learning opportunities for all children. So that would be all my report, and thank you for listening.